I'm proud this evening to introduce a new feature on our show that we are calling Limited Perspective. In it, we are featuring discussions of popular media events from particular points of view. Tonight, I'd like you to meet a dentist from here in New York City, Dr. Norman Hoffman. Dr. Hoffman has been practicing dentistry since 1946. We asked Dr. Hoffman to attend Warren Beatty's new movie, Reds, and let us know how it looked from the dentist point of view. Dr. Hoffman.
In the making of the motion picture Reds, the producers have gone to a great expense to create the illusion of authenticity with respect to architectural details, style of dress, means of transportation, and so on. But one cannot help but notice a notable failure in the attempt to produce realism in the movie. The story takes place at the beginning of the century when dental methods were relatively crude. Yet the stars of the film, Warren Beatty, Diane Keaton, Jack Nicholson, and so on, are seen displaying near-perfect dentition with respect to color and shape and occlusion and gingival health and general aesthetics. And this would have required the use of acrylic veneered gold, porcelain fused to gold, porcelain alone, implants, and a host of other methods that were historically not available at that time.
Okay, Dr. Hoffman, how is Jack Nicholson in the film?
Well, in this picture, he doesn't show any teeth, but in the picture, from a subjective point of view, just an impression, his teeth were much too even. They look like a picket fence. Mm-hmm. No undulations to them.
Undulations
Nothing
are
natural.
I
think they should have lengthened some of them to give them more naturalness.
How about Diane Keaton?
Diane Keaton has a high lip line, and she's showing a lot of teeth and gingiva. Her two front central teeth are slightly elongated.
It pretty much ruined the film for you? Of course, here is the writer, producer, director, star, Warren Beatty.
Warren Beatty appeared slightly toothy, but better than the others, better than Diane Keaton's or Nicholson's. Mm-hmm. I would say that Warren Beatty's teeth were the best of all of the stars of the show.
Okay. So now, what have we got here?
Well, here we have a long shot of a crowd. But fortunately for the film, there were many close-ups of this crowd, and their teeth showed to better advantage. But here again, there was a great lack of credibility, because in those days, back in 1915, many of the teeth were covered with gold and silver, and yet the teeth of the crowds in those movies were not different from maybe the teeth of the audience in front of us now.
So, dentally speaking, then, the film was uneven.
The teeth was uneven, and the tooth didn't fit the parts.
Fine. Dr. Hoffman, thank you very much. Your review. Thank you, Paul. Hi there, and welcome back to the show. What a show it is we've assembled for you folks, or extravaganza is the word we're using around the office these days. Coming up later, actor Christopher Reeve and film experts, what do you call them? Film critics, thank you. Everyone in the building knew the word but me. Isn't that interesting? Film critics Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert. But right now, once again, it's time for the segment of our show that we are calling Limited Perspective. In it, there's a seizure in the band there. In it, we are featuring discussions of popular media events from particular points of view. Today, I'd like you to meet once again dentist critic Dr. Norman Hoffman, who has been practicing dentistry here in New York City since 1946. We asked Dr. Hoffman to attend Francis Ford Coppola's new movie, One from the Heart, and let us know how it looked from the dentist point of view. Last time he was here, he reviewed Reds, I believe, Warren Beatty's epic. Please again welcome Dr. Norman Hoffman. Thank you very much. Thanks for being back here. So, let's get right into it. What did you think of the motion picture, One from the Heart?
One from the Heart is a musical fantasy and an erotic love story set amidst the glitter and neon lights of Las Vegas. It was written and directed by Francis Coppola, and it features beautiful sets, dramatic photography, and dazzling special effects, which almost overwhelm the movie. Yet one cannot help but experience a real sense of disappointment with respect to the teeth. Despite all the glamour, the actors appeared to be edentulous or toothless. Sylvia, who was sitting in another part of the theater, noticed the same thing.
Who is Sylvia?
Sylvia is my assistant.
Sylvia is your assistant?
Right.
You take your assistant to movie reviews? All right, what do we have here, Dr. Hoffman?
Here we have the picture of the two stars, and as you can see, the male lead doesn't show teeth. The female lead shows a few, and they are two troubled lovers. They argue, they break up, they have affairs, they move around looking glum and toothless. But one could not help but wonder whether they're suffering from unrequited love or from loss of teeth.
And this is, of course, Ms. Kinski?
Mrs. Nastasia Kinski, who does show teeth at times, but her smile is quite plastic. Leni Kazan, whose picture we don't have here, has a pretty face, but not even an indication of teeth.
So then, overall, from a dental point of view, the movie was?
I would say it was not so good. The movie did not have a bite. Motion pictures play an important and influential part in our daily lives, and I, for one, hope that the picture, One from the Heart, is not the beginning of a trend toward more toothless movies in general.
Well, I'll have to go along with that. Thank you very much. Dr. Norman Hoffman, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up, Christopher Reeve. Fine review. Thank you, sir. Hi there. Thank you very much. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen, and right now, it's time for a segment that we call Limited Perspective. In this segment, we feature discussions of popular media events from particular points of view. Today, I'd like you to meet Dr. Jim Baral, a New York City dermatologist. We have sent Dr. Baral, to review the movie Quest for Fire. Doctor, thank you. Thank you for being here, sir. Dr. Baral, from the point of view of the dermatologist, how would you rate Quest for Fire?
It's a good movie, David, and it's well done. However, from my point of view as a dermatologist, there are many shortcomings. The hair on the face is too short. Practically nobody had tumors on his face. There was one man there with like red tumors, and that weren't really very real. No infections, no boils, no ulcers, no scratching. One or two men had lice, and the women were eating and biting it. But the others didn't. Again, not real. Yeah. No acne, no blemishes. So kind of a not very real.
All right, let's ask you a few of the specifics here. This is Namir El Khadi.
Yes, right. Namir El Khadi, as you can see in the picture, has a small scar here. His hair is kind of nicely set in place, but it's not real. You would expect much more. He fought animals. You would expect that he would have scars, part of his nose beaten. None of this. It's all there.
You would expect that part of his nose would have been eaten?
At least. I mean, you know, I had a big fight with a Not a tiger, a bear.
Okay.
That's Ron Perlman.
Perlman.
Yes. Now, you know, this thing on his right side of his face looks like a beauty spot, and in actual fact, it's a keratosis. Now, again, you'd expect many more.
Yeah.
And those primitive men you would expect would kind of learn how to scratch them off, and he, obviously, it's kind of a not real again.
Did you stay through the whole film?
Oh, I saw it 3 times, David. 3 times. That's
Ray Dawn Chong. Yeah.
Oh, she's beautiful. But, you see, she's got the mud on her face, and that kind of a covered multitude of sins. This girl did many things, David, really many. Sexual acts and so on, and the makeup on her face always stayed in place. Never moved. It was remarkable.
So briefly then, summing up Quest for Fire for you.
It was a fantasy in every way, but from point of dermatology, even more of a fantasy.
Okay. Dermatological fantasy. Thank you very much,
Right, you
Doctor.
got
I
it.
certainly appreciate that. We're going to pause here. We are going to pause. We'll be right back with Graham Chapman from Monty Python. Thank you, Doctor. Michael Palin will be out here in just a moment, and now it's time for a limited perspective. This is where experts from different fields review movies from particular vantage points that other critics might not have covered. Tonight we are going to discuss the action film The Road Warrior, in which survivors of a nuclear holocaust compete for supplies of gasoline with barbaric motorcycle gangs. To review the film tonight, we have Mr. Anthony Lupo, a driving instructor from the Yorkville Driving School in New York. Would you please welcome Mr. Lupo, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get into detail, Anthony, first of all, give me your general impressions of the movie Road Warrior.
Oh, I think it was quite a waste of a very precious film.
You not a good idea?
No, not really. The man was an idiot.
Yeah. What about the premise? What was the premise for the movie?
Well, The Road Warrior is the story of one man driving recklessly and haphazardly. When the movie started, we don't know that gas is a precious commodity. But knowing what he knew, he should have taken less time. If he was going 50, should have done 20 or 30. And he shouldn't have made sudden stops and starts. This would have saved gas. You know?
Yeah. Why do you think the Road Warrior was driving like that then?
Well, he was driving fast due to loneliness and anger. Also, it was a macho thing to create an image. He was acting like the show-off driver to intimidate the motorcycle gang.
Now, tell me about the motorcycle gang in this movie.
Well, they should have been wearing helmets.
What other mistakes did you notice in the film?
The Road Warrior didn't use teamwork. Driving is a team process involving all the drivers on the road, respecting signs and signals. At one point, the Road Warrior was offered a ride in a helicopter, but he insisted on driving his car. Had he accepted the ride in the helicopter, he would have saved gas by perhaps carpooling. Plus, at the advantage of another person to help him plan his route.
Yeah.
When you get into a car, you have to answer 2 questions. Where am I going? But most importantly, will I get back?
Yeah.
The Road Warrior wasn't concerned with any of this. Only getting from point A to point B.
Point B. Anything else?
No one even thinks of wearing seatbelts in the movie. And they're very important.
Sure.
Last month, Richard Dreyfuss' life was saved because he had a seatbelt on. I think seatbelts are the mainstay of driving a car safely. It's the only way you can get into a car and know that you have some sense of security.
Do you see a trend now away from movies that include safe driving?
Oh, definitely. It's frightening to watch movies like Smokey and the Bandit and the Blues Brothers. Not only do the characters drive dangerously, but they encourage everyone to treat driving like a game. It's not.
No.
No. Driving is a career, and every minute in the car could be your last.
Yeah.
Even Disney makes fun of movies, with movies like the Herbie the Love Bug movies.
Let me ask you about any movies that depict driving properly, like Ordinary People. How was the driving in that?
Yes, that was okay.
Okay, well, I want to thank you, Anthony. It was a pleasure meeting you. We certainly appreciate your review of The Road Warrior. It's gotten generally pretty good reviews, but in all honesty, I'm going to think twice now before I see it. Anthony Lupo, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, sir. We'll be right back with Michael Palin. Welcome back to the program. Dabney Coleman, Gary Muldeer, and musical glass player Gloria Parker is here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. You know, and now we'd like to present another installment of something we call Limited Perspective, a feature in which experts from different fields review movies from their own unique vantage points. Tonight, we're going to discuss George Romero and Stephen King's anthology horror film Creepshow, in which the dead return from the grave to take revenge on those who have killed them. To review the film, we have Mr. Bill McCaffery, funeral director at the McCaffrey Funeral Home right here in Manhattan. Would you please welcome Mr. Bill McCaffery? Hi, Bill. How are you? Nice to see you. First of all, to begin with, what were your overall impressions of Creepshow, Bill?
Creepshow is just a kid stuff. It's a total waste of time. It gives a totally unrealistic impression of death as bodies as I know them. In this movie, corpses are getting up and walking around attacking people.
Mm-hmm. And you think this gives people the wrong idea of how corpses behave?
Definitely. I've been working with dead bodies for 20 years, and not once has one gotten up and walked away.
Okay. Well, I think that's good to know. Now, what do we have here, Bill?
In this part of the film, Leslie Nielsen has drowned.
Uh-huh.
His wife and her lover have come back to kill him. Now, these bodies are all wrong.
In what way are they wrong?
Well, for one thing, there's too much seaweed on them. I've seen seaweed on bodies, but nothing like this.
Uh-huh.
For another thing, they wouldn't look anything like this. Drowned bodies would be bloated, fat, smelly, and black as your shoes. And by the way, this brings out an interesting point. In this scene, the corpses are always sneaking up and surprising Leslie Nielsen. But they would smell so bad, there's no way this could happen.
So you could actually smell the bodies sneaking up on you?
You could smell them 3 blocks away.
Yeah. And how about this scene here?
This is just the same dumb story all over again. A corpse gets up out of his grave and kills people. The only difference here is the body is much more realistic. It has good skeletal structure, skin tone, and pretty much how a body would look after 2 years underground.
Uh-huh. But it just wouldn't be standing up straight like this, would it?
No.
Now, here's a scene with E.G. Marshall.
That's a scene an embalmer can relate to. In that sequence, cockroaches crawl out of E.G. Marshall's mouth. Something like that actually happened to me.
Really, with cockroaches?
No, with worms.
Uh-huh. And I'm guessing there's a wonderful story behind that, huh?
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to speak about that here.
Okay, so now in conclusion, do you think movies like Creepshow have an adverse effect on your profession?
I'm afraid it might create what we call buffs. You know, firemen have fire buffs who hang around and try to help and unwind hose, and they just get in the way. We have the same kind of problem. On the other hand, you get people who are scared of us. You know, I can't get my car washed. Guys don't want to touch a hearse. They think it's bad luck.
Yeah, well, this is fascinating, Bill. I want to thank you for sharing your views with us, and a pleasure to meet you. Mortician Bill McCaffery, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to, what are we doing here? Going to pause for a commercial. We'll be right back with Gary Mulder. Thank you, Bill. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, we would like to present yet another installment of a feature that we like to call Limited Perspective. This is where experts from different fields review movies from particular vantage points that other critics perhaps have overlooked. Tonight, we're going to discuss the courtroom drama, The Verdict. The film stars, of course, Paul Newman as an alcoholic has-been lawyer who is trying to redeem himself with one last case, a medical malpractice suit. Now, to review the film, we have two energy management experts from the Triborough Insulating and Roofing Company right here in New York. Would you please welcome Paul Shindell and Carmine Fioccola, ladies and gentlemen. Carmine, how are you? Nice to see you. Paul, how are you? Thank you very much for being here, gentlemen. What was your general reaction to the film, The Verdict?
For a movie, David, set in Boston in the winter, it doesn't show any energy consciousness at all.
For example, Paul?
Well, for one thing, there wasn't one thermal pane window in the whole movie. All I noticed was single pane windows.
Yeah.
That's right, and also the lighting seemed to be 100-watt incandescent bulbs, which are much less efficient than fluorescent bulbs. And another thing is that there are virtually no one ever wears a hat in the movie at all.
No one wears a hat in the whole film. That's a shocker in itself, isn't it? Now, in your opinion, was there anything good about the film?
There was a good use of drapes in one scene. Paul Newman and Charlotte Rampling drapes are a very effective insulator, especially for low-income families.
Okay, now we have some photographs taken from the motion picture. If you gentlemen care to comment on these, we'll take a look at them now.
Well,
what can you tell us about this one?
Well, in this scene here, the thing that was interesting for me was that they both had their coats on while they were inside. And you could see how the glass is single pane, okay, which is interesting from an energy point of view.
How so? Why? It should be double paned, I guess.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so they're wearing their coats on inside. It would be,
right.
Naturally, it's chilly because they don't have the proper thermal insulation.
Exactly.
Okay, how about this one?
In this scene here, the thing that I found interesting was that the space wasn't utilized properly. It's such a big scene, it could be partitioned and also properly insulated. I just felt that it's not a proper use of space.
So you'd like to see the courtroom partitioned off into little segments?
Well, somewhat.
Smaller rooms, okay.
Yeah, somewhat.
And another scene, Paul Newman in front of the judge and jury?
Once again, it's the single pane windows and the poor lighting. You can insulate single pane windows that are beautiful without covering up.
Now, that's what I was going to ask you. What if you have an attractive window that may not be energy efficient? What do you do there? For example, we have Paul Newman in church, I believe.
Well, it's easy enough, David. In this scene here, okay, from an energy point of view, that stained glass window there could be covered with a transparent glass, and you'd still have the beauty of the stained glass, but you'd have energy efficiency.
What would you cover that with?
Well, transparent glass.
Transparent glass. So you create your own double pane. Okay. And finally, this last photo.
This brings up, again, a central problem with this movie and all current movies is that the dress is not appropriate. People wear big overcoats instead of dressing in layers, which is much more sensible and much more healthy for you.
So yeah, like Jack Warden is dressed in a heavy wool suit, and Paul Newman there in his
There's a stark
undershirt.
difference between what they're wearing and insulation blown into the walls and the ceiling.
Yeah. So, in your line of work, this doesn't make any sense at all, does it?
None whatsoever.
Now, do you think any of these wasteful, inefficient methods of heating and insulating had any effect on the plot of the film?
Well, as a sidelight, as I was telling Paul, was that I felt that Paul Newman in his drinking, maybe one of the reasons why he was drinking so much was that he was so cold. It was just obvious to me.
And another thing is the hospital could have easily have saved enough money to pay the judgment if they would have insulated sensibly.
Sensibly, yeah. So, what then is your bottom line opinion of the verdict?
Well, I felt there was no real energy consciousness in the film.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And the verdict is, again, typical of all current films, that there is no general energy consciousness.
Okay, great, gentlemen. I appreciate your candid remarks about the film The Verdict. This is Carmine Fioccola and Paul Shindell. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you. We'll be right back with... Gosh, have a seat. We'll be right back with Lee Von Helm. And welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. We got a good show for you tonight. The motion picture Ghandi has been critically acclaimed throughout the world, and this year it swept, of course, the Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Tonight, as a part of a series we like to call Limited Perspective, we've asked Bill Canegata, a black belt in martial arts and an instructor at the Richard Chun Institute, to see Ghandi, the movie, and review it for us. Ladies and gentlemen, please say hello to Mr. Bill Canegata. Thank you. First of all, Bill, did you enjoy the film?
Well, I enjoyed it very much.
How about from the point of view of a self-defense instructor?
Well, from a point of view from self-defense instructor, I thought it was... I didn't like it at all. I thought there was a lot more that he could have done. Could have broken a few arms, cracked a few heads, did a few things like that.
Okay. Let's take a look at some still photographs from the production. First of all, Ghandi himself could not really be described as a heavyweight, could he?
Oh, no. He was a big man in a little body. One of the things that he had in his favor was that he could have used the weight of the opponent and used the weight advantage, so it's really not a disadvantage to be small.
And also, being a pacifist, he had the element of surprise on his side, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He certainly did.
Okay, now in this photograph, we're looking at Ghandi followers being poked and beaten with sticks. What could he have done there, Bill?
First of all, I think that's stupid. What he could have done is could have blocked the hand with a high block, took the arm, wrapped it around. He could have broke the arm and took the stick away. No problem.
That would have been an effortless maneuver.
That's right.
Okay. All right, and finally, another scene from the film. It looks like he's at quite a disadvantage here, isn't he?
Well, he's on all fours, number one, and the element of surprise here is here. Now, he could have grabbed his ankle, kicked him into the groin area, and a sweeping takedown.
Yeah.
So the element of surprise here is because he is passive resistance, things like that. If anything turns up,
he could have cleaned
it
it
out.
out.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay. One of the most dramatic scenes, I guess, in the movie takes place on a sidewalk in South Africa. A confrontation between Ghandi and some other gentlemen.
Yes. Well, I like to demonstrate a move which he could have done.
Okay.
All right.
Let's go over there and we'll demonstrate this move. You'll be playing the part of Ghandi?
Yes.
All right. And I'll play the part of the guys on the sidewalk, okay? All right. Hey, Ghandi. Get off the sidewalk.
Well, there's room in the world, my friend, for both of us.
I said, get off the sidewalk.
Now, this is what Ghandi would have done.
Hey, Ghandi, get off the sidewalk. Oh, wait a minute. Before you get off, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I'm supposed to hit him with this.
Okay.
No, I was supposed to hit him, and then this, by the way, is out. We scrapped that. I'm going to hit him.
All right,
okay.
There's room in the world
Wait a minute,
for both
let me hit you
of us.
first.
Okay.
Okay, Ghandi, get off the sidewalk.
Well, there's room in the world for both of us.
I said get off the sidewalk.
I said there's room in the world for both of us.
Okay, and I said get off the sidewalk. Oh! Well, that was fun. I'm fine. I'll be fine. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much for that insightful review, Bill.
Thank you.
Certainly enjoyed that. Perhaps they can use that for the sequel. Bill Canegata, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back to take a look at some exotic cats. Thank you. Welcome back to the show. On Monday, legendary advertising man David Ogilvy will be here. Also from the New York Yankees, David Winfield will be here. And Carol Kane, who recently won an Emmy Award. Did she not win an Emmy Award? She will be here on Monday. My next guest, from time to time on this program, folks, you may realize that we have a segment called Limited Perspective. Now, in this, people from different walks of life review films for us from their own special points of view. And tonight, with a review of the hit film Flashdance, welcome, please, former City College, New York welding instructor. Did I get that right, Kevin? City College of New York, thank you. City College of New York welding instructor, John David George. John. Nice to see you, John. How you doing? So you went to see Flashdance?
Yes.
And you prepared a review of the film for us from your point of view as a welder?
Yes.
Is there anything else we ought to need? You just want to go ahead and give us the review now?
Whatever you'd like.
Okay, go right ahead,
Okay.
John, and tell us all about Flashdance.
Well, I went and saw this movie, Flashdance, and it's about a welder who dances at night. And the thing that bothered me about it, she's 18 years old, and yet she's got a ground floor loft, and she's got enough money to put herself through 4 years of dance school.
Right.
Which, now I'm 30 years old, and I got 10 years of welding behind me, and I live in 3 rooms. You know? So it's not correct that way. You don't make that kind of money. And especially when you see her actually weld, you can tell that she's not a welder. All right? When she's welding, she's just tapping and making sparks, which one of my foremen would have seen it. They would have made a face like rotten fruit. What is this? All right? She wouldn't hold her job. To do welding, you have to have a lot of training and background. You got to love it, and you got to maintain a constant arc. Okay, you can't just tap. The other thing is the safety violations, which is actually serious, because you don't want to show people that welders, behave this way.
Sure.
In other words, we see her welding, and then she takes off her helmet, and she's got all this curly hair comes down, and big brown eyes, and she's like, "Oh, that looks great, right?" But a welder, he's not worried about curly hair and big brown eyes. He's worried about what his hair's going to catch fire. And he's worried maybe something hot's going to jump on his eye, right? And he's a one-eyed welder. So what, you have to wear a wool cap or a cotton cap to protect your hair. If you got long hair, you push it up under the cap, and you got to wear safety goggles, all right? The protective goggles that don't shatter. Other than that, the safety goggles and the cap, she's also wearing these buttons, all right, on her jacket while she's welding. Okay, let's go for a party. You go to a party, you wear the buttons, you look nice after work. But during work, what happens is these buttons are reflecting the arc, which is 10,000 degrees, okay? It's like the sun. And what it does, it reflects on the buttons reflect up into your eyes, and you get a condition on your eyes known to all welders. It's called flash.
Flash.
Right? A welder, so you see a welder going like this, he's got flash, which is a sunburn on the eyes.
Yeah.
Okay? Actual sun burning of the eye surface, okay? So you can't have that.
Right.
Not if you're going to make a career of welding.
Okay. Is that it? You have any other points?
Well,
okay, all
other
right.
than that, I thought she did a good job. But the good things, if you want a couple of the good things, she did do a good job of burning with the oxyacetylene torch. And somebody actually showed her how to do that.
Okay, John, let's quickly go through these photos and just briefly comment. I guess you mentioned about her hair really was too long to be a safe welder.
Not to be worn like that.
Okay.
No.
Now, what about this safety outfit? Could she dance in those boots?
Yeah, I think she could dance in them boots.
All right. Do you see the buttons on there you were talking about, John?
No, not right now.
Okay. What else do we have here? Oh, now do you see any safety violations there? These are all stills from the film.
Well, I don't know. It looks like it's kind of smoky. I don't know if they did that on purpose.
Okay. Now here, kind of goofing around on the job site.
No, you
don't do that.
Wouldn't be doing that.
All right. And well, now here, what about those goggles? Are those all right?
Those goggles are all right. I wouldn't wear a pair like that myself, but...
But again, the hair?
The hair would be
Hair's
tucked
a problem.
up. Yeah.
And the helmet.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the helmet's okay, but...
Helmet's okay.
Yeah.
All right, and summing up then, John, was it a good movie for welders or not a good movie for welders?
Well, the welders who are actually welders that you see just sort of going about their business, you could see they were professional.
Yeah.
And just her, when she was welding.
All right, so with the exception of the star, it was a good movie for welders.
With the exception of the
John,
star.
thank you very much. Nice
Thank you.
job. We'll be back, folks, with REM. My next guest, tomorrow night on this program, folks, actress Valerie Perrine will be here, baseball legend Bill Veeck, and our second installment of Stupid Human Tricks on Thursday. Yeah, this will be exciting. Thursday, our guest will be X. They'll be here that night. So plenty of fine viewing here. And remember, it doesn't cost you a cent, ladies and gentlemen. This is free American television. My next guest is a stuntman. You have seen his work in A Midsummer Night's Sex comedy and also a film called The Warriors, in which he was thrown in front of a subway train. He is currently coordinating and performing stunts on As the World Turns, The Guiding Light, and The Edge of Night. Tonight, he is here to review a film for us from his unique perspective. Welcome, please, stuntman, film critic David Copland. David. Good to see you. Come on over here, David. First of all, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and review this film for us. What film did you see, David?
The film I saw, David, was The Big Chill, which is a story of 60 former radicals who all get together for a weekend after the funeral of a mutual friend. I kind of liked the movie. It was funny, and it had some great music and some brief nudity, which I always enjoy. And they really blew it, though, as far as the chance to enliven the movie with some good stunt work. There were millions of places where it was appropriate, and they just didn't take advantage of it. It seems like all the money in the budget just went to the stars and to food. There's lots of food in this film, and there's not one food fight. This is a group of former 60 radicals, and there's not one riot flashback. They're always talking about the Vietnam War, and there's not one war scene. Talk about opportunities for action. And they're all brought together here by the suicide of a friend, but they never show how the guy did it. That's what I would have liked to have seen.
Okay, now we have some photos from the actual production, The Big Chill. Tell us here, David, how these scenes could have been helped a little bit.
All right, well, here we see two guys who are always arguing throughout the movie, but it's all very cerebral. I would have loved to have seen these guys just punch it out.
Fist fights.
Fist fights, break them up.
What do we have here?
Here we see a group of everybody gathered around together. Now, I want to point out the trellis and the balconies that we have here. Nobody went off the balconies. I would have loved to have seen something like that happen. They could have had somebody climb up the side of the house because it had all these great balconies, and then just fall down.
All right, none of that in there. Okay.
Here we see everybody gathered together. It's a party. Everyone's getting bombed out. And if you'll note the windows in the back, there are windows throughout this movie, but nobody goes through them. I wanted to see somebody go through the windows, David.
Okay. Oops. All right, next.
And here we see these two guys go for a jog early in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you'll notice, there's nobody else in this town. I was wondering, where is everybody? Now, we could have placed some people right up on this balcony. They could have fallen down. Sure. We could have had some terrorist activity somewhere along here. A car could have come ripping down the street, pulling a few 180s, flipping over. There was none of that.
So it was ripe for sniper activity there
Absolutely.
also. Yeah. All right.
Now, here we see William Hurt. He's forever popping pills and driving along in his Porsche. Now, talk about opportunities. A Porsche is a great car to do stunts in. And he could have, in the opening of the movie, he comes in to the funeral, where the church is. Now, I would have loved to have seen him come into the parking lot, pull a 180, pop a couple of the extras right in the parking lot, and drive right into the church.
Yeah, now, that would have been nice, sure.
Yeah. And right back here, you can't see it, but there is
Part of a pier?
a pier.
Sort of a
Yeah,
dock?
there's a pier that goes out into the lake. Now, while they were stoned out one of these nights during the parties, I would have loved to have seen him take a motorcycle or maybe that Porsche and go right off the pier into the lake.
Yeah.
That would have been great. Now, also there's a scene where he gets escorted back to this mansion by a cop. Now, he's bombed out, he's been taking pills, and the cop brings him in, and we never get to see that chase. I would have loved to have seen the chase throughout the town, a couple of 180s, 360s, or even turn that Porsche right over.
So, summing up then, David, from your standpoint, your perspective, how was the film?
Well, from a stunt perspective, David, the film left a lot to be desired. I like to see films that are more action-oriented,
Yeah.
something like Clint Eastwood,
Sure.
Charles Bronson, Burt Reynolds, Hal Needham, or Dave Copland.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, David, very nice job. Thank you for doing this for us.
Well, thank you very much.
Stuntman Dave Copland, folks. We'll be back with Ken Kesey. Hi, Monday on this very program, Barbara Walters will be here. Also, Mark Fidrich will be joining us. So tune in on Monday after you've had a pleasant, safe, and sane weekend. You know, there are Academy Awards for acting, directing, and even costumes, but there's one part of a movie that seldom receives the attention it deserves, and I'm talking about posture. Yes, good posture and bad too often goes unnoticed. Tonight, as another in the series of reviews we call Limited Perspective, we have two posture analysts with their review of the new Mr. T movie, DC Cab. Please welcome Thomas Caffrey, director of New York's Posture Institute, and their chief posture analyst, Claudette Gazet. Folks, won't you come in, please? And say hello, Dr. Mark. Hi, Claudette. Nice to see you. Thomas, how are you, sir? Have a seat. Thank you both very much for being here. So, from the point of view of posture experts, what was your impression of DC Cab?
That was a very good movie, posture-wise.
Well, good.
This is a movie with some violent activity.
Yeah.
And most of the time, the actors approach the activity very well composed, balanced, and under control. Posture-wise, it is very good.
Controlling their back and their spine.
Yes, and
Okay,
their attitude.
good.
Yes, their balance.
Can you quickly summarize the plot of the movie for us?
A young man comes up to Washington, D.C. He joins a cab company. Mr. T happens to be one of the drivers in that company. The company has a lot of problems. Toward the end of the film, there's a kidnapping, and the cab company is instrumental in resolving that problem.
Okay, let's take a second here to review some of the characters and the posture from the movie. Here we have, of course, Mr. T. Let's start with him. Tell me what about Mr. T's posture?
His posture is very good. You can tell from looking at him and the way he moves in the movie that he's more than just good muscles. He's certainly trained to weightlifting.
And this would be one of the, there are some good examples of good posture in the film.
Yes, there's a moment in the movie when he's about to jump from the roof down on the people underneath. And he takes his time, he's very well balanced, he's very well controlled. You can certainly tell that he will make a good landing on the people below.
There's a couple of brothers who are very burly. They're also cab drivers. And they're getting honked at from behind by a truck driver. And they very professionally get out of their cab, they walk to the truck, and by bending their knees properly, they tilt the front of the truck forward.
Oh, good.
And the drivers are a little upset about that, but that's another good example
of good
posture.
Okay,
On the part of
what
the-
about examples of poor posture?
There is a moment in the movie when one driver picks up a tire from the truck, and he goes this way, bending his back over. And you can very well tell, if it were for good, and if he was not warm up, he would hurt his back.
So that was bad
That was
posture.
very bad.
All right. Now, here's a picture of the main character, Albert. Any noteworthy scenes with him from a posture analyst's viewpoint?
At one point, In general, he has good posture, Albert does. But at one point, he's being thrown out of a club by the nape of the neck.
Yeah.
And he lands in a balanced and proper fashion.
All right.
His legs are equal and so on.
Okay, now what about the actual cab driving scenes? Any special problem with any of these?
Driving in itself gives a chance, takes a chance to posture. It makes you tend to slump. But in this particular movie, when you can tell that the battered cars have no shock absorbent devices, and there are a lot of collisions, it's not good for the back.
That's not good.
There's another scene with the cab in which it has to drive on the railroad track. And obviously, they have to go 7 miles, so it's obviously very dangerous. The tires could slip off the rails, and that could be give the spine a jolt.
It would compress.
And there's another scene where they're being stretched. They stretch Albert, the hero, between a cab and a van as the two vehicles are racing down the highway. And normally, stretching can be very good for your spine, is very good for your spine. But in this kind of circumstance...
That was extreme. All right, what about this man's posture here?
This man apparently lives in a crumpled car.
This man lives in his
Yes.
cab, okay.
And for living in that kind of low ceiling habitation, I think he does it very well.
Does it pretty well. All right.
Yes.
Also, Irene Cara is in the movie, portraying herself, I believe. And what about her posture?
Beautiful.
She has good posture.
Beautiful.
Would you recommend this motion picture to your posture analyst friends?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
I think it's a very good example of what you can perform if you have the proper training and a good approach to the activity.
Oh, well, very nice. I appreciate you taking the time to review the film for us, and thank you for being here. Claudette, nice meeting you. Thomas, nice meeting you, sir. We'll be back with David Walachinsky. Thank you, folks. Very nice.